Greetings viewers, this is Montomatic coming at you with another video. Today we're going to review the high-end master model Zoids Death Stinger by Kurabukiya. As you all know, how do we start this is I go over a little bit of the origins, if you will, of the kit I'm working on, based on what they've been shown in media or in the Zoids battle story. So just to give you a good idea of what's the idea behind the Zoid specifically. But in this case, the Death Stinger actually had a couple various origins. One was for the battle story, and the other one was for the anime. Specifically, Zoids Guardian Force or Zoids Chaos Century Season 2. I'll start by discussing the battle story appearance. So the Death Stinger, as you can tell, as you can see, is a Sea Scorpion type Zoid. It was manufactured by the Gallows Empire. It is the augmented product of the Organoid Systems technology. The Death Stinger is the combination of powerful Zoid core discovered in the ancient ruin and artificially created Organoid system. The result was one of the most powerful Zoids ever created, a machine comparable in many ways to the sea-going Death Soar. In addition to being fully amphibious, the Zoid is capable of burrowing through even the densest rock. It first appeared in ZAC 2100, developed by Gallows Regent Gunther Prozen, a antagonist actually in Zoids Chaos Century, and later on in Zoids Guardian Force. As a counter to the Helic forces, however, once unleashed, the Zoid became rampant, attacking both the Helic and the Gallows armies. The Zoid caused a considerable amount of devastation to both armies before being defeated by a Blade Liger and a Genobreaker. However, both Zoids were destroyed despite the victory, with the Genobreaker pilot being the only survivor. The one thing about the Death Stinger is that the Death Stinger possesses some unusual abilities, especially the capability to operate completely unmanned for extended periods of time, controlled by the Organoid system itself. It can also create copies of itself, apparently by altering the cores of the Zoids that it had destroyed. And that was for the battle story. Now, as for the anime, the Death Stinger was a little bit different in terms of how it was created. The Death Stinger was used heavily by Hiltz, the main antagonist of Zoids Guardian Force, and was created by merging the Zoid cores of two Scorpion-type Zoids responsible for defeating the Death Soar. Oddly enough, the only Scorpion-type Zoids that I recall were Gysax, which I believe there are kits of those available. I'll do some research on those. I may pick one up. But that aside, Hiltz used the Death Stinger to launch a campaign of terror against the Republic and the Empire, completely annihilating several civilian populations, including the new Helic city. The Death Stinger was eventually defeated, initially due to the immense power of the Gravity Cannon that was attached to an Ultrasaurus later in the series, but later by the Guardian Force, which was Van Flyheit, Irvine, Moonbay, Fiona, so on and so forth. The main protagonist of the show. It was constantly revived both by Ambien, which was Hiltz Organoid, basically a red Zeke, if you will, and the Zoid Eve. But the Zoid core is eventually fused with Hiltz and the core of the Death Soar that was revived by Prozen, that man that I mentioned earlier, 4 years earlier in the story. This combined the Zoid core merged with the body of the Death Soar, re-reckoning it as its true form. The one thing about the Death Stinger was that it was depicted many times larger than the model scale would indicate, albeit inconsistently. At its largest in the anime, the Zoid was able to pick up a Blade Liger, Lightning Sax, Command Wolf, or Darkhorn in its claws. Which to me is funny enough because all these Zoid kits are a 1/72 scale, so maybe this one might be a little bit off, but we shall see. The Death Stinger made a slight cameo in Zoids New Century. That one was a bit different, so they Backdraft group, one of the antagonist groups in the series, possessed the tail and charged particle cannon of the Death Stinger from Guardian Force. It was mounted on a platform on the top floor of a backdraft headquarters. The backdraft group used the tail's charged particle cannon to shoot down Judge satellites from the sky during the World Cup part of the series, so the end of the series. It was their way of going against the Zoid Battle Commission, them doing their own thing. But eventually they got taken down at the end, where when Vega Obscura did not win the World Cup, it was Big Cloud with his Liger Zero. I do want to bring up one other thing about the Death Stinger is that one thing that made it different in the manga, and I'm just reading this off because I find this a little bit interesting. The Death Stinger was equipped with the Berserker system, if you will, which sends combat data directly to the mind of the pilot, but only pilots implanted with special genetic material can handle the mental strain. So I find this a little bit interesting. I mentioned in various videos all around that certain Zoids, or certain Gundams for that matter, had a certain system installed. So this Berserker system to send combat data directly to the pilot is similar to that of a organoid system like the Liger Zero, Berserk Fury, or even the Zero system in the Wing Zero of Gundam Wing. I just find it intriguing that certain Zoids or Gundams had these systems and creators really used this in their stories. It really makes it stand out personally that a machine can just copy certain combat moves, and so that we can get better as time go on, especially with the right pilot. So I just want to point that out. But that's enough of this lengthy origin of the Death Stinger. Now let's get straight to the box. So you can see here the Death Stinger. It looks like it's on top of some sort of like molten ground. It looks like magma's spewing out. But let's get a closer look. So as you can see here, the Death Stinger's tail. That's actually where the charged particle cannon fires, whereas the Death Sword, it fired from its mouth. Like the Death Stinger was basically mirroring Godzilla, but in this case, the cannon was coming out from his tail. So there's some battle story. Unfortunately, I cannot read. I have a nice little side view, just like the front view. And this is pretty nice. They give you some specs. The Zoid core is inside of the Stinger, but I'll show you in a minute how it's not so easily shown. There's the charged particle cannon, how it opens. There are the legs, how the front claws open, and there's a cannon mounted. There's a front view, and the face is hidden. And this is telling you that this is 450 millimeters long if it's fully extended. So if you reach out the claws and stretch out the tail, then yes, it's 450 millimeters. And it is Easy 036. Easy is Empire Zoid. And this is number 41 of the line. I do want to add this is I would say the most common version of the Death Stinger. There is another version that is more associated in terms of colors to how it's shown in Zoids Guardian Force. That one is more red and blue, whereas this one is more violet and pink. But I think the colors actually do work well with that. Of course, what comes inside the box is the instruction manual. And it shows here more of the battle story. Also shows some specs, some data. This can go up to 185 kilometers per hour. It weighs 320 tons. And I can't tell from this data of which one is how long. I want to say the body is 28.8 meters long. I want to say the tail might be 10.7, if not 19.4. So I can't really tell from the data sheet there. And here are the runners. There's actually a good amount of runners for this kit. It goes up to Q, and including the polycaps. And there's various doubles here too. So definitely a good amount of runners. And it starts off with the head, the body, the bust, or the other portion of the body, the tail, or its main weapon. There is claws. And probably the most tedious were the legs, because you're just building the same part 8 times. So I remember that was a little bit dragged. Full assembly, and various things you can do underneath the Zoid body. And let's see, more specs, more schematics, and a color chart of the colors that come with this kit. So like I said, this is more purple or violet and pink, not red and blue like the Hiltz version. The Hiltz version I think is still available, but it's just so rare now that you'll be paying a lot more than obviously this kit is worth. But that's enough of the instructions. Let's get straight to the kit. And here is the high-end master model Zoids Death Stinger. Now, as you can tell, I had to finagle a little bit with its legs because it was having trouble standing on the turntable there. I could get the legs on there, but it's going to look a little bit goofy, so I decided to use this pose instead, and even this looks a little bit goofy, but just to give you a good idea, just the size of this, this is actually pretty big. I'm really astounded by that. I really am pleased that Kurabukiya decided to give this Zoid a good size. On the side of the box, they say it was 450 millimeters, so this definitely does stand out. So I'm really happy that they got by that. But that aside, though, just looking at this, I was very, very happy the way how this turned out. The colors work well together, the purple and pink, whereas in the Zoids Guardian Force series, it was red and blue. I was hoping that this would be red and blue too, but they actually have a different version of this, which is the Hiltz version, which is red and blue, respectively. But even this works pretty well. The purple and pink, and I assume that the claws are the same color as they were in the Hiltz version. So the silver does work well as well. Even in other areas, that's I would say not like a matte black, but like a matte gunmetal. So that also works well too. So all the colors just blends it pretty well. They really work great together. The only, I would say, argument I would give is when they show the pistons around the 8 legs, and once this brings back around, I'll show you, right there, and some here. I kind of wish I painted the gold there. This just looks a little bit tacky, just to make it stand out a little bit better. But all in all, I'll say this is pretty solid. Right before I show you the next part, and as really common in these videos, the articulation, I really want to show you this right here. The 8 legs are just so strong that it can lift its body quite well. So I just want to give you this this image right here, that just these legs are working together just fine. And the reason why I want to show you this is because there are many toys, many kits out there that sometimes the legs aren't strong enough to lift the body. But I gotta give the Kotobukiya, they did a great job with this. They made sure to probably test this out before they made hundreds, thousands of this kits. And it really shows that they were testing this. But to really show you this, and I'm hoping this will work, if not, I may need to edit this part. But if we were to lift just a couple legs, right now it is standing on 4 legs. I'm not going to test it to see if it can stand on 3. Not right now, but to show you just how strong the legs are for this kit. 4 legs is lifting the body of the Death Stinger. Now that to me is pretty impressive. Now for the proper part of this video, to show you the articulation. So to get you a closer look. And no, the kit did not fall down, I just touched it. But actually, let's start with the legs. So, legs can move up and down. It has a few parts of articulation. So, there's that. There's one joint here too, and it can extend like so. And there's one here at the tip. So that can move all the way down, and you can also straighten it. And there's one more. It's actually this part right here. I am unsure of the purpose of this part. The tips of these legs just looks like a certain claw, or maybe just a different way to actually give this kid some balance whenever it's standing on his legs. I'm really unsure about that, but you know what? I give Kotobukiya, you know what? A thumbs up for that. They didn't need to add that, but it's just one extra thing for this kit, so I give it that. But to continue from the front, I'll start with the head here. Now the head can go all the way down. There's a flap here, so that can move ever so slightly. It can move up, but the one thing I do like about this kit is this is just a visor, and there you go, and there's the head. This is one thing they did not show in Zoids Guardian Force. I'm unsure if this shows in the manga. That's something I may need to look into later on, but the fact that they actually added a proper head to this kit, thumbs up there. But with that head, it can move ever so slightly. And the claws can open, or really the mandibles, I should say, can open, and they can actually open in various parts, because they are two sets of mandibles. Which is pretty interesting. It kind of reminds me, I know scorpions are arachnids just like spiders. I know that scorpions tend to have mandibles. Some spiders may have bigger ones, but this have 2 sets of mandibles, so I gotta give it that. So we can close that. Now we have the front claws. This can go 360 if it really wants to. This can go all the way in one direction and all the way in the other. There is another articulation in right here where my index finger is at. So this can move. I believe this can rotate. There we go. So this can rotate all around like so. There is another joint right here where my thumb is at. There is a blade on each one of these front claws that can extend. The claws can open, like so. But also, if you close this one, there is a hidden gun right there. They can just extend out. That's it for the front of the kit. So for the back, you have these back claws that can rotate all around. There's a few points of articulation. That's one thing I gotta give this kit some credit. Kurobuki did a lot of. There's a lot of articulation in this kit alone. You can move a lot of pieces on it. So I gotta give it that. You can also move the claw, straighten it out. You can open the claws like so. You can move it down. You can also rotate it like so. Left and right. I'm going to show you on the underside real quick, because there is a articulation point right here that can move just side to side. So you can say this some hip articulation. And on the underside, you can open these flaps that gives, I want to say it's some like hidden thrusters, or I wouldn't say they're like missile pods or anything like that, because why would they be on the underside? But I would say definitely some thrusters to lift the Zoid up if it's stuck on the ground. I think these might be even used for hover as well, because this kit can be underwater. At least that's what, not the kit, but the Zoid, I should say, can be underwater, and it has a certain, I guess, swimming form, so to speak. And I'll show that momentarily. But close these up. So there's a back claws. The main gun here can just rotate, and that should not come off. So just rotate left and right. It actually has 360-degree movement. And for its charged particle cannon, its tail, there are actually some flaps that can open like so around the tail. So all these can open. And these extend, and so does these top parts. I know in previous videos where I showed a kit or Zoid that has a charged particle cannon as its main weapon source, there is a certain pose they do. But for the Death Stinger, there's not much like a certain pose. It just opened its tail flaps up and just extend the tip of the tail, I guess you can say stabilizers, and just fire. So nothing too crazy there. But one thing I do want to show for aesthetics, because I don't remember seeing this, whether it be in Zoids Guardian Force or when the tail was used in Zoids New Century, but if you look closely, it almost seems like there was an eye there. So maybe in some aspect, there can be two pilots in the Zoid. Can close that back out. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention is that the tail also have many parts of articulations, so many joints. So this can rotate in the bottom, rotate in the front, and this tail has certain points of articulation, which is pretty nice. So yeah, that's all of these articulating joints. I actually forgot to add of the pilots. So the pilot's actually a little bit more hidden than in its most conventional sense in many other Zoid kits. The pilot is always in the head of the Zoid. That's just a common theme with Zoid kits, or Zoid lore, if you will. But this, like I said, the pilot is pretty hidden. So, like I showed before, you just lift the visor up, and you can push the head down just a little bit, and you see this little peg there. You can just lift that up, and then you see the pilot inside. But of all the kits I have, I say the pilot for this kit is actually pretty hidden pretty well. The only ones that I would say match this up would be the Genosaur and Genobreaker. So I just wanted to show that little detail of the Death Stinger. To give you a good idea of the size of this kit, let's do some side-by-side comparisons. Here it is beside the high-end master model Genobreaker. So definitely the width is going to be given to the Death Stinger. Height, for obvious reasons, is the Genobreaker. But to give its length, if you will, the side profile, so let's move this over. So with tail fully extended, I'll say it may give it to the Death Stinger, but only just by a little bit. Put that up. Go. And here's the Death Stinger beside the High Master model Blade Liger. So again, width is given to the Death Stinger on this one. I would say, let me just move this over. There we go. And length might be close if the tail was fully extended. Let me just fix the legs a little bit. Yeah, that's better. And here it is beside the Master Grade Musha Gundam Mark II. The reason I want to use this case because the Musha Gundam is just a little bit bigger than I would say the average size Master Grade. Granted, this kit was I would say maybe 10 years ago, so maybe I might be off by a couple of years, but I would say other Master Grade kits I've seen lately are not the same height, so this still is just above the average height, I would say. But just give you a good idea of what the standard Master Grade will look like compared to the Death Stinger. But to really compare the size, let me show you the Master Grade Sazabi. As you can tell, this Master Grade is bigger than the Musha Gundam, but this is definitely, I would say, one of the bigger Master Grades I've seen. Or very least, I should say, one of the bigger Master Grades I have. I know there are some kits that really push out proportions or sizes of a Master Grade, or even a real grade for that matter, or even a high grade. But who knows, maybe one day I will get those various sizes. But yes, the Master Grade Sazabi compared to the Death Stinger, I may give the bulk to the Sazabi on this one. I mean, the Death Stinger is He's pretty big too, but perhaps the Sazabi just have, I guess, proper girth. But that may give the length to the Death Stinger if the tail is fully extended. That didn't supposed to happen, but yeah, that's about it for side-by-side comparisons. Now, to show you how it's look whenever it's swimming, it's actually not too complex. What I gotta do is I'm gonna be careful because I don't want the head to come back off, but all I gotta do is straighten the legs out. Just turn each one. Extend the back claws out, like so. Extend the tail out. And also you can extend these flaps on each side. So do the same thing on this side as it was on the other side. Fully extend the legs. And turn each one 90 degrees. And you can extend the claws the best you can with the blades extended as well. Try not to hit the legs with it. And if you want, you can open the mandibles up a little bit. That's optional. So yeah, it is going to be something like this. Which it's kind of silly to look at it, but just imagine imagine some sea mammals, so think about a whale or a dolphin. The tail fin is horizontal, whereas most fish is vertical, which is one good characteristic of sea mammals. Sea mammals have horizontal fins, whereas fish like sharks or bigger fish like that have vertical. So imagine this, using this as a tail to dive. Oh yeah, it's pretty neat. With some finagling, you could post this kit properly. That's one thing I mentioned very briefly, is that there's a lot of points of articulation for this kit, which I really adore. Just that the poses may be somewhat limited. But then again, I think it's just limited just because I'm just trying to balance it on a turntable. But, and as you can tell, the turntable seems just a little bit small for this kit. But just gives you an idea of the size of this kit, maybe some possible limitations, but all in all, just the visual, as you can see here. But the way I'm talking, I think it's best to just get straight to the good, the bad, and everything else in between. So we'll start with the good. One thing that I already did mention is the articulation. There are many points of articulation. There are 3 points, actually no, if you think about it, more than 3 points on each leg. So there's 8 of those. There are mini bends, some rotations. It actually does work well. The claws, even though there are more articulation points in the front claws and the back claws, there's still plenty here, just that alone. So I'll give it that. The strength of the legs are another big one for me. As I stated before, that other toys or kits that are leg based, so think about insects or think about the arachnids or any other bug for that matter, sometimes the legs are not strong enough to hold the body. But as you can see here, forward legs are balancing this kit. That to me is really impressive. That's one thing I love about this kit. Colorbookia did a really good job on that one. They made sure that this kit is well balanced. This kit is pretty strong, so I gotta give it that. The color scheme too, it actually works pretty well. I thought that they would just bring out the red and blue Death Stinger, use that as the basic colors, but instead they use this one. But it works out just as well. The purple do match well with the pink. Even the silver from the claws and the mandibles, even the caps right here, match pretty well with this kit. The dark gunmetal, I would say, also works well with this kit. All in all, it's pretty nice. I'll say another thing too, and I mentioned this in many previous good, bad, anything else between review parts of kits, is that the proportion. I was afraid that the front claws might be too big for this kit, but that pretty much went away when the legs was able to hold the kit up. So proportion wise, this is pretty balanced. I was a little bit concerned, I was a little bit worried, but the fact that this kit is holding its own with 4 legs, and I even showed it in a different position earlier, just goes to show that the front claws are not making this kit front heavy. The tail and the back claws are not making this kit back heavy. This kit is pretty proportioned. So with that, let's get straight to the bad. Now this could be because I've had this kit in storage for quite some time. I basically got this kit a little bit after it was first released. This kit, not the Hiltz one. The Hiltz version actually came before this kit. But this is the kit that is most likely going to be shipped out and the most common color scheme, I would say. But some parts did fall off earlier. The head fell off during the size comparison video, part of this video. A couple pieces did fall off too. So just be careful. Speaking of falling off, these pieces did not fall off, but when I was positioning the legs, I can tell that it was sticking out of the socket just a little bit. So even though that it is placed properly in that hole, those pegs, it's just that with some time, with some movement, they could loosen out just a little bit. So that could be just a little bit of a downfall, just a little bit. But in terms of other bad parts, there's nothing else I can think of at this point. I was about to mention the price, but I think the price is reasonable. And I believe Colorbookia or the Tower told me decided to do a repackaged version of this kit, so the repackaged would be a little bit cheaper than this kit. This kit repackaged, of course, will show the repackaged version underneath the name on the box. So I think there is some repackaged versions of this kit out. But it comes down to the big question. Is this a kit worth getting? 100% absolutely. I adore this kit. The building process was fun. I will say that the legs got a little bit annoying because I'm just building the same piece over and over again 8 times. So that got a little bit of a headache, but I wouldn't say it was annoying, but I wouldn't say it was a bad part of it. It's understandable, which is why I did not mention it during the bad part of the good, the bad, and everything else in between. But really though, this kit is worth getting. If you haven't done so, pick this kit up. Give yourself some time, be patient with it. I will say, aside the pistons, I do highly recommend to paint over those. The other that comes with this kit is just a little bit tacky, so I highly recommend paint over that. Other than that, I don't think this kit, unless you want to do some custom paints, need to paint anything over. I say this kit is just good as it is. So if you haven't done so, pick it up. Normally I end my videos with the kit on the turntable, but like I said, the turntable just seems a little bit small for this kit, and I know for a fact that this kit, whenever it turns, it will hit the box. So just avoid that for this part. But with that being said, thank you all for watching. This has been a very fun kit for me to review. I hope you all learned something about the Death Stinger. I hope you all decide on whether this kit for yourselves is worth getting. Of course, you have heard my opinion, but at the end of the day, it's up to you. But I highly recommend this kit to anyone. Definitely not for beginners. I'll say give yourself some experience, maybe some high grade kits, maybe a couple of low grade kits. There are some small pieces here in the kit, so just be very careful with those. But if you do pick this up, take your time, enjoy the process. Because once you have it fully assembled, I'll say it's going to be a very nice addition on your shelf, display case, what have you. But with all that being said, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell for more video updates. There are 2 videos here for your enjoyment. One's the most recent upload and one that YouTube picked out. So with that being said, thank you one last time, and until next time, keep on building. Do want to add that this is not the only Death Stinger kit that came out. Say hello to the Death Stinger's brother, the Death Stinger ZS, and its father, the ZA Death Stinger, a third-party kit different from the Kawatomi. I'm going to be busy for a little bit. Stay tuned.